All right, everyone. Thank you again. Another episode of Atheists Having Cocktails with Christians. I'm stoked tonight. I'm sitting around with DJ, original bass player, vocals from one of my favorite bands of the era back in the day, Living Sacrafice. Those first three albums were, in my opinion, just some of the best Christian metal that was ever produced.
Thank you.
I will say that I am very familiar with those three records and a little bit of their newer stuff, but once the direction kind of went that new metal kind of route, I never really listened to Living Sacrafice after that. It just wasn't my jam. So, but I'm super excited to have one of the original.
I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, one of the original guys, man. So
yeah.
All right, DJ, thank you for joining the show.
Rocky's the same way, dude.
What's that?
Rocky Gray's the same way.
Really?
Yeah, he's like the first. But I don't know if you did you see the documentary that my friend made that came out? Like, it was during COVID, dude. We were supposed to release it, and then we had to do it via Zoom. But Rocky's on there, like, they're asking him about the reborn stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I didn't dig that. I don't know what they were doing."
Yeah.
That was before he was joined, so.
Yeah, and it's not I mean, I get that style if you're into it, just it wasn't my thing.
There's a certain group of fans they lock, it's like, I love the first three Metallica records, and then when Black came along, I jumped off,
Thank you. I'm so tired of everybody, I say the last decent record was Injustice, and there wasn't even, there's like 4 bangers on there, but I'm like, by the time Black hit, I was like, why do I need to listen to this? I have Slayer. They're 1,000 times better, or Exodus, or Overkill, or so many other bands.
Right, exactly.
I've not liked Metallica since '91, So
yeah, I think Sepultura took the place of Metallica in my selection of stuff to listen to at the time. That's the direction I went, and we went. So
yeah. Well, tell me the history of. I mean, you guys were all from Little Rock and whatnot, and your first album came out in '91, was it? And that was the Celtics, correct?
Yes.
So you and who were the other band members at the time, and kind of like, what did you guys like? How did you guys find each other, and what was your mission to make this band happen?
Gotcha. Well, Lance and I grew up together in the same neighborhood. We lived like 4 houses down since I was in 2nd grade and he was in 1st grade. And so we've always been friends. And then in like 5th and 6th grade, we really bonded and became, best friends after that. And so we met Bruce in junior high during his 7th grade year, and Lance was in 7th grade. And we all were just party buddies. We just heavy metal, parking lot type party buddies, dude.
Yep, I know.
Game, my cousin was a drummer, so he had this big station wagon, and he would pile everybody from the neighborhood in. He'd go down to Barton to see, Rat and, whoever was playing, Judas Priest, and so that's all we knew for a long time, and because we weren't church guys. We didn't grow up around, I didn't know anything about it, until I got saved. And one of the guys in the party scene, he got saved and he started going to church, and everybody thought that was weird. And like, what's he doing? Because he was the hardest partier. I mean, he wouldn't stop until he was, 3-day bender, blacked out. His parents don't know where he is, and he's like 16 running around, Yeah. And so he started going to church and cleaned his act up, and he was he was a model. He was actually a male model. He was a good looking kid, still is. But so all the girls we ran around with, they started going to church because Kai's going to church now. So, we started going with them as well, you know, just to see what it was about. And Bruce and I got saved. And all, you know, everybody, you know, there were a lot of kids that summer that got saved.
Mhm.
And by the time school started, everybody was, yeah, it was over. You know, it was just lasted that last part of summer.
Yeah.
But it took with me. Bruce fell away for a little bit. And then I started bugging. Lance had me going with this. So I started bugging Lance to go to church with me. And he did. And he finally, you know, received Christ and everything. And then it was 2 against 1 because Bruce was our best friend too.
Mhm.
So we got him to start going to church, and he really dedicated. And so, you know, we were the long-haired kids in this, you know, kind of 4-square church. You know, they didn't know what to make of us at first. It's kind of like, why are those long-haired guys going to youth group? Because we'd only go to youth group on Wednesday nights, and then we never went on Sundays.
Yeah.
But we were really serious about it and strong in our faith once we were all like dedicated like that. And Lance had been playing drums since he was like 15. It's like 85, 86 when he had his first drum set. And he was already just a monster. I mean, he's talented. You know, he just picked it up right away, you know. And so, like Bruce and I talk about, like, it took us a while to catch up to him because Bruce just started playing guitar. He couldn't play, you know, but we would try to jam, you know. And we eventually, we started, you know, Living Sacrafice. We didn't have a name or anything. We would just rehearse and try to write songs. And we actually, since we were new, we heard someone say, you know, your first year of being a new Christian, you should just pause everything and just see what God's direction was, because we were like, we're going to be a band.
Yeah.
You know, you know, we were all into Striper and stuff, Bearing Cross, you know, Blood Good.
Oh yeah.
Saint, Messiah Prophet, Rage of Angels. I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah. Same here. I mean, I grew up in the church, and you know, that was my first introduction to Christian metal was you know, Striper in '86.
Yeah.
Maybe '85 with Soldiers, and then Tell with the Devil, and then, you know, Blood Good and Secret Warrior, you know, Rage of Angels. I'm glad you mentioned that band, because that band doesn't get enough credit, man. That band was awesome.
Oh man, that album was spot on, dude.
I think they only did one album
a couple of days ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it down at my warehouse where we rehearse, and I just have a bunch of CDs. I was like, oh, there's Rage. I hadn't heard that, and so I put it in my truck, and I've been listening to it on and on.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, and then you see, like, Baron Cross was okay for me. Shout was a little bit too pretty boy, you know.
Yeah.
Dig Ken's vocals, but you know, they had a couple jammers on there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a local Baptist bookstore, and when I got saved, I got, you know, like a lot of people did, then like get rid of every secular thing. And I mean, my wall was like, I had like, it was just covered with, you know, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, you know, all the heavy bands back then.
Yeah.
And after I, you know, they were like, you know, you can't listen to that music anymore. And I'm like, okay. And so I went home and I took everything down. And at this point, my mom and dad were divorced. And I came home from school and my dad's there. And I'm like, what's he doing here? What happened? You know, who died? You know, kind of a thing. And they're sitting in the living room and they go, we really want to talk to you. And my mom's all upset. And she's like, yeah, I told your dad that you took down all your posters and you're not going to listen to the music that you love anymore. And I think that church is changing. Are they a cult? You know? And so it was like an intervention for me to put back up my Judas Priest and Iron Maiden poster. They're like, what? Because, you know, they were like, what was wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with, you know. which I agree now, but back
Yeah.
then, I was a young Christian and that's what we did.
Well, especially
But
back
yeah, I thought that was
then.
funny. And my dad, he's just like, okay, see, Diane, Darren's fine. Later. He just left.
Yeah. But and also back then the climate of Christians and metal was so different than it is today. I mean, today everyone
Yeah.
from Demon Hunter to, anything else, everyone's like, oh, this is acceptable now. I mean, but I mean, when I was a young Christian, and
Yeah.
once I kind of started, not listening to the hair metal, and I grew up in California, so punk rock was a big influence on my life. I mean, I grew up in
Yeah.
Ventura with bands like Ill Repute and Aggression
Right.
and Doctor No, and then Suicidal, down in
Yeah.
Venice Beach and whatnot. And then when I found Metallica was cool, I liked Metallica, but when I found Slayer, that's when things really changed for me. And then finally
Right.
moving from them fighting Napalm, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the music I love. Grindcore, I love extreme death metal, like that
Yeah.
88 to like 97 range,
Right.
with Death and Obituary.
That's funny. I just bought a Melvins and with Napalm album.
Yeah, that split. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. But I just got that today. But yeah,
that's a
dude.
great record.
I love both those bands. But
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The climate was so much where just whether imagery or whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
it was basically a war on music. And in my opinion, especially being much older now, almost being 50 now and living through it, you know, censorship on a genre that these people did not know anything about.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
Well, when I
kind
got
of
rid
got
of
you guys into the
everything,
heavier stuff because I mean, like
yeah.
I love Vengeance, I love Deliverance, and Tourniquet and all those bands, and the Crucified is still one of my favorite bands. But
Hmm.
for me, like the two major bands that really changed how was finally like, wow, like, and not saying that those other bands aren't legit because they are, but when I first got Scrolls from Mortification, and then your guys' first record, I mean, that's stuff that like I could have seen being playing on Headbangers Ball, Christian or not.
Right. Right. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Is like when I got rid of everything, it was a Baptist bookstore, and I started ordering, Saint and Barren Cross. They were, and Bloodgood. They were good, stop gaps for Priest and Maiden and and then White Cross. Everybody were at whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, they were good stop gaps until I got to what I really wanted. I wanted like legit like heavy stuff and it could like stand up, and that's what I think, when Believer came out, I was like, that's them,
yeah,
like, so I had ordered Kurt's or Believer's demo, and it had Kurt and Joey's phone number inside the demo.
nice.
I would just cold call Kurt all the time, and God bless him, he would always just chat with me and like, and that's why we came out with like that 3-song demo was upon his suggestion,
Nice.
because he was like, because I was like, man, we've got like 4 or 5 songs. I don't know if like 2 of them are all that, if we're going to keep them, but we're working on to get like good 10 songs or something. He's like, dude, don't do that. He's like, just work on those 3 songs that y'all like, hone those, go in, do a quick demo. It's not going to take you long, 3 songs. And we did it for $80 in a trailer outside of Little Rock in the woods, and it was good enough that, it's, Kurt passed on to Doug and we got signed. So,
Yeah. And you guys were young, man. You guys were like 16, 17, 18 at the time, weren't you?
Oh yeah, we all were. Yeah. I think I was 17 when we got Jason, because that was the thing. We stopped for a whole year, but we didn't stop practicing, Lance, Bruce, and I.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got Jason, who was in another Christian, he was in the Christian band. It was at that youth group where we first got saved.
Mm-hmm.
We were on to another church at this point, but Jason came over to practice one time because his band didn't want this song that he wrote. And he said, man, it's thrash. And I know you guys like thrash, getting into that, and it was Haven of Blasphemy. And so we're like, dude, why don't you just join our band?
Yeah.
And so he did. And but once that happened, it was like solidified, and we felt like a unit, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That missing piece finally hit right, and it just
Right, exactly.
there.
And he's a monster too. So
Because I mean, wasn't it? Didn't all 3 albums come out like within like 3 years? So you guys were writing and recording a ton.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And we got the first album again was Kurt and Doug Mann producing it. So
Mm-hmm.
Kurt's been there the whole way, kind of, or he bookends like my time with the band.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first time Sacrifice ever played outside of Arkansas was in Oklahoma, opening up for Believer.
Oh, nice.
2 nights. That was our tour, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
what an opening! What a band to open for on your first run.
Yeah. And I think that definitely helped us a lot, because they saw that we could actually play,
Mm-hmm.
and play good, and bring it live. We were setting up in Oklahoma City. We hadn't even met them yet. We just kind of met each other and everything, and Lance already had his drum set up in front of Joey, and Joey was setting his drum set up behind Lance on the drum riser.
Mm-hmm.
We're the opening band. We get to the floor.
Yeah, you're on the floor. You're the crowd.
Yeah. But so Kurt and bass player are just noodling around. They start going into like something off Sanity Obscure, and we'd already been in contact with REX, and Kurt was like, yeah, Doug loves your demo tape. And Doug called me and was like, yeah, let's work together. I'll send you Believer's new album right now before it comes out. So we had it, and we listened to it constantly. Mm-hmm. So Lance knew the song drum wise, so he just starts joining in, and then the other guitar player joins in, and there's this one, I can't remember for the life of me right now what song it was, but there's this tricky little kind of stop, I don't know, Lance will know the term probably, but you can see, because I was videotaping it, just being a fan, I was like, Lance is playing with the guys as a Believer before we opened for him, I was all excited, so I videotaped everything, right? And so I'm videotaping, and you can see Joey bending down and tightening the cymbals and everything, and it comes up to that part, and Joey just turns like this and just pauses, and then Lance nails it, and he was like, oh yeah, that kid's good, And then Kurt was sitting there, and then he stopped, and he goes, Joey, he just nailed that. You messed up last night. And they got in an argument, but Lance is like, wow. But I'd say all that to say that I think after we played those 2 shows with Believer, they were like, yeah, these guys are the real deal, and they want to run and gun with it,
So did when you guys got signed to RX, did they treat you fairly? Did whatever contract you signed with them, were they good to you?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about that. My dad had a good friend that was an entertainment lawyer in Nashville. He worked on Music Row.
Nice. Good for your father.
Yeah. And he was, and I don't know if you've heard, but he was David Allan Coe's attorney.
No disrespect to Mr. Coe that's dead, who just passed.
Yeah. But I don't care if you're a fan or not. I just
not at all, man. And I love old country, but fuck David Allan Coe, man.
Yeah.
That was a racist piece of
shit. Yeah. I was just like, wow, that guy represents David Allan Coe and this, Christian thrash band from Little Rock. I was
that's awesome.
Yeah, but he was a very good lawyer, and he was a very litigious man.
Good.
And so, when we got the contract from REX, it was 2 pages. And he was like, okay, well, and then he sent them back a contract that was that thick, 40 pages. Good. And then, yeah, dude. He had everything but the kitchen sink in there. And I was like, why? You know, because Doug called me and he's like, we got the contract from our lawyer, and it's going to take me a while to read through it. He's like, what's going on? Do you guys, you know? I was like, I don't know. So I called Philip up, and he was like, well, dude, you got to get what you can right when you start, or you're gonna climb a hill to try to get anything back from them. If you got it laid out first,
Yeah.
all your bases are covered. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it went back and forth for a little while.
Yeah.
What?
So the first two records, were you guys able to retain rights to ownership of your songs, your catalog? Or...
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got all our publishing. We got all our masters back, which is rare. When REX dissolved, you know,
Yeah.
there was a clause in the contract about that. But yeah, it was back and forth for a while until Doug called me up and said, hey, your lawyer's just beating us up. He's like, man, I want to sign you guys, but unless, you know, we can come to an agreement, you know, the last thing that I just sent out to him is like, that's the best we can do. And I called Philip and I said, hey, he's like, yeah, I just got the contract. I hadn't read it yet. And I said, I told him the situation, and I said, we want to sign on this label because we want to be with Believer. You know, REX at the time was just so, you know, it had the throws, they had the lead, you know, Believer, they were different. You know, it wasn't like Frontline or any of those Cali labels, you know.
Well, just because we never had to sign the Frontline Intense. Because I mean,
yeah,
you know, a bunch of guys that were on that label, and you know, they did not treat them fairly at all, except for Jimmy from Deliverance. But I mean, even towards the end, you know, Roger Martinez was a good close friend of mine for the last 4 or 5 years. Man,
yeah. I got a funny Roger story.
I bet you do. Yeah, even towards the end, you know, I mean, like, but also now it's all Roger. You got to take a lot of things with Roger with a grain of salt, but you know, he just wasn't getting his residuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, he didn't actively look for him either, too. So there's a bit of, you know, double-edged sword on that, where it's like, man, you know, like, especially, you know, he went around for years saying, you know, I own Vengeance, I own this, I own this. Well, after doing a lot of research with, you know, over the years with him and whatnot, he didn't own, he owned the rights to the name, and that was it. He didn't own the publishing, he didn't own the masters, he didn't own shit.
Yeah.
Meisenheimer from who bought up Frontline's catalog and Intense's catalog when they went under about 12, 13, 14 years ago. She owns all that stuff. So
okay. Yeah, so they didn't get any publishing when those records were coming out? Wow.
Roger did a little bit because he was the main songwriter on most of them. But I mean,
I know how it is.
What they sold over the years. I mean, that's the thing. It seemed like Frontline and Intense were very blatant in keeping things from their artists, so that therefore they didn't know exactly, because you know Roger's like, oh man, with Once Dead we only sold 100,000 copies. I'm like, that doesn't sound right, man. Like, you know, I mean, like, shit, just in California alone there must have been 100,000 kids, you know, within that state that, you know, at least bought something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, but you know, Roger never wanted to really pursue anything, so that was on him.
Yeah. But yeah, so Philip secured, like, you know, we had our name trademarked and everything, and you know, a lot of bands didn't think about that. I didn't think about it at the time, you know. But yeah, so yeah, we did put out 3 albums like right in a row.
Yeah.
Like we did for the first album when we played Cornerstone for the first time, which Believer was supposed to play. There's another Believer connection. They couldn't, and it was 4th of July at midnight, prime, you know, time. And so I think Greg Meteor got on stage with us for the first time, you know, because we met them.
Nice.
And we love the Crucified, dude. That Take Up the Cross demo was like, I even made my own insert for it from their lyric sheet, because when you bought it, you got the tape and then just like a letter with all the lyrics and stuff. So I cut it all up and it made a insert. So I had a crucified, it looked legit demo tape with the cover, sold out,
Yeah.
I'm a nerd, man.
No, I'm with you. I'm a huge collector that way. I want it to look right,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Greg's been on the show, and he's such a nice guy, man. Such a nice guy.
Yeah. I'm still friends with him. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. They were the band I probably growing up in Southern California saw the most. I never saw them in California. I saw them when we moved to Denver. My first show, I was 14, and we were there. Scattered Few opened with the Crucified and Deliverance at the Reseda Country Club, and I was 14. And my parents took me down from Ventura and dropped me off, so it was great. And then I saw with, Roxy a couple times. Saw them with Betrayal once. Saw them with Mortal. Saw them with Wish for Eden. Saw them with Precious Death. Saw Tourniquet once. Saw Mortification once.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you guys and Believer were like the two bands that were, the East Coast bands that, just there's no way I would have gotten to see you guys back then, because I mean, touring was probably
we did like 30 dates on the first record, and then when we came back home, Bruce and I were in the local university here, University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and signed up classes and ready to go with that. And then Doug calls and was like, "Hey, I want you to go back in the studio. Y'all going to come to Nashville." It was the latter part of September. So we had only like written like 6, maybe 5 songs. And so we were like, oh no. And so I dropped out and we just woodshedded it and came up with Non-Existent. And so it was just, like that. But it was like, if we can't get you out by a certain quarter, then Cornerstone won't have you guys back unless you got a new album. So I was like, I'm going to Cornerstone. It's like that. Yeah, we're playing. Just tell them, hang on.
How many years did you
music grow and record it?
Yeah. How many years did you guys end up playing Cornerstone?
I played 3 years in a row with them.
With each album?
Yeah, and then I think it was 95, there was a gap, and then 96 was like when Reborn, happened or whatever. Like Bruce and I and Jason, I was already stepping away from the band, but we went up there in 95 and they were passing around like they had already recorded like 3 songs that ended up on Reborn, like a demo tape so people could hear like the change, So we gave it to like the 6 Feet Deep and Unashamed dudes, Focus dudes, and all those guys. That's the direction they were kind of heading.
What was the reason for the walking away, and what was the reason for the switch?
Well, it was I'd been in the band and I started the band and I took care of everything like financial stuff. And it just became a burden because my father was a successful businessman, and he just didn't see any after 3 albums. That's the thing about like when we were right back in the studio, we had already recouped. So I was looking forward to getting a check in the mail, whatever amount, just so I can say, show my dad, hey, we're making money.
Yeah.
Because I would, like, for example, or like that first tour, he fronted 10 grand to the band to like get our merch, to get our trailer, to rent our van.
Yeah.
And, I would be at the road, and then after we made whatever money, I mean, I had that paid off before we got off the road. I'd send it back to him, and he respected that and everything. But I would come home, and I mean, literally, we'd be like $100 each, or something. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
And so I kept dropping out of school, and he was paying for it at the time. And so it came down to like, hey, I know y'all are going on the road, you're making money, you always pay me back on time, even faster than I expect, but what he had to show for it, because
Yeah.
he wasn't in the church and a big fan of what all that televangelist type, Foursquare type stuff. He was an old school dude, but he was like, I know you believe in all this, but you can't. It's not going to fill your stomach up.
Yeah.
You gotta eat. The man's got to eat.
Yeah. How are you going to pay the bills?
Yeah. And he was
Yeah, I
like,
get it, man.
you're dropping out of school and you're doing this. He's like, when are you ever going to graduate? And so there's a lot of pressure, because I really respected and I really love my dad, and I hated to disappoint him. So I just thought maybe it's time I step away, and they obviously could tell, because I was always, the biggest stuff, and I wasn't that cheerleader anymore. I was just kind of like, and so I think it worked out really good, though.
No, that's awesome. You're happy with the decision you made,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it gave new life to a band I started with my best friends, and they were able to continue, instead of just all of us stopping, to see it continue on blessed me. And, I was so happy that they did that, It didn't matter if I was, I didn't have to be in the band to still want them to prosper and to go on,
Yeah,
So
that might have been a thing you might not have been digging.
I hated it, but I had
That-
to do. I said I hated leaving, but
Yeah,
that's what I had to do. And
I totally understand.
we would have probably gone in, I don't know if we would have gone like a Reborn direction, but we were definitely kind of, working more towards a quicksand, like a heavy quicksand, type of stuff, kind of slowing it down, because after Inhabit, dude, Lance was like, man, this stuff live is, I'm tired. Let's slow it down a bit.
Yeah, especially that era. I mean, that time frame was, the bands like Helmets and all those kind of, that more heavy but like slower, sludgier kind of bands were coming out.
Yeah.
And doing their thing. And when like you said, I like Quicksand, I like Helmet One Up, but I mean, that's where I kind of just in that era, just kept going, delving more into the more extreme. You know what I mean? Then you get Cannibal Corpse, and then I found Deicide, and then that kind of stuff. The really
I went that way too. Yeah.
What's that?
I went that way too. Like I got into black metal, and when I left the band, I rented a house with 3 other, and they were like straight edge hardcore kids. So I listened to that, and they were all metalheads too. And like one of them worked at a record shop, so he'd bring all furs on, and like like listen to Mayhem, and but and so I spent like the next couple of years just hanging out with a bunch of straight edge kids and hardliners, actually, like Memphis hardliners.
Oh yeah, hardliners.
You're familiar.
Oh yeah. My old hardcore band. I played in a hardcore band called One Blood, and we were very beat down, very very heavy mosh, and we opened up for Earth Crisis. And I'm outside on the phone talking to somebody, and I'm having a cigarette, and like the guys from Earth Crisis started just and like I was not even around them. I was like 20 feet away from them. They were
right.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, man, like, dude, I'm not blowing in your face. Just they're like, I'm just like, and I wouldn't do it. I'm just like, get the hell out of here,
I'll tell you a story. One of the hardliners was named Matt, and he went up to Syracuse and lived up there for a while when they were about the time they were getting started in like Snapcase and all that stuff. So he knew those guys, and like back then, it's summertime, dude. I would take off, because he had this old like Southwestern Bell utility van that he converted, and he just drove around everywhere. He'd off train, he did all of that kind of stuff. But he came down to Little Rock and was at the house and was like, "Hey, I just talked to Carl. They're coming to Memphis, and then they're playing like all these Southern dates. I'm gonna follow them on tour and hang out."
Nice.
I was like, "I'm going."
Yeah.
So I spent like 2.5 weeks with hanging out with them. And do you remember? I don't know how familiar you are with them, but do you remember DJ Rose?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the reason why I'm called DJ Sacrifice or started going by that was because of Earth Crisis.
Okay.
Because like we'd be like, loading in, loading out or whatever, and somebody say DJ, and we both, and so DJ Rose, DJ Sacrifice. And so that's how I started going by that. And then on the Path of Least Resistance, they thank us on
Great
there.
record. That's a great record.
Look on that if you got it.
Yeah, I do.
I'm in the credits, DJ Sacrifice. So that's why I'm on there. But I say that to say I've been in Atlanta when they've done stuff like that to other people.
Oh yeah.
But and other shows.
Now, I will say, I only had like straight edge kids weren't that bad. The kids like that I've dealt with from worse were Boston, Philly, Jersey, New York. Because I have a homeboy that's from New York here, and he's old school skinhead from New York, and he's friends with AF and Matt Ball and all those bands. So it's been a privilege over the years to hang out with those guys. We got to open up for them a few times, and I was in New York when Judge got back together and got to work that show at the also. And Judge was my favorite straight edge hardcore band ever.
I love Judge, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, hardline guys, like I never got it. I understood it, but I never got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I understand having that conviction, but yeah, to go jump a kid because he was eating a hamburger, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
that's I mean, when hanging out with those hardline dudes, I was like, man, y'all are just as bad as these crazy Christians, just like are militant about it, everything. And I'm like,
yeah, speaking of the Zealots, my old Oi band, I played in an Irish punk band called Brass Knuckle Choir. We were like Dropkick Murphys.
Nice. I like the name.
Your band and my band have a connection where we played at a big Oi Fest down in Atlanta in 2004, and then we got chose to be in a documentary. It's called Dark Planets Visions of America. It does 4 subcultures. It does straight edge, black metal, skinhead, zealot. And they used one of my band's songs for the soundtrack, and then you guys were on it as well.
Really? I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. So yeah, you can find it on Amazon for $12. It's a cool documentary. They just do little snippets of skinhead culture, then the straight edge culture, then all and zealot. So and of course it was the Reborn stuff that they were using,
Yeah.
It was the black and white one with the guy's face gets all pooped with the
the air hose, like
it's like Resist or something like that, or Repent or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I talked Lance and Bruce talk about like, they were I don't want to take their story, but they're like, yeah, we went out to, we're going to go out to California and make a video, and we're thinking, oh, this is going to be cool. And then all of a sudden they end up in some dude's garage behind his house. And they're, he's got an air hose and he's like, what are we doing? Is this going to look cool? It didn't feel cool. But it looked okay. Nobody ever, I mean, they didn't like the blowing in the face. They didn't understand what that was about.
Yeah.
It wasn't their idea.
Well, it was that same era, POD was getting big. And I remember getting, POD's first record, Stuff the Punk. Like, I was not about it. And I'm not saying they're untalented. I just never gave a shit about POD. Yeah. Those up and coming, like, there's a lot of cool tooth and nail bands. Like, I liked Focused. I like Unashamed. Still at that point in time, I was 17, 18 when I heard those bands. And it's not that I was not a Christian at that point in time. I still was, but I just didn't want anything to do with Christians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything to do with the church.
Well, like, for example, I set POD's show up here in Little Rock the first time they on that album or that demo, whatever you want to call it. at a Christian bookstore.
Yeah.
It was like a cafe, one of those things that split half cafe. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I set it up at their farm, and that was the first time they came to Little Rock. And
Yeah.
with there's some history between us and them, So
Yeah.
Jason ended up being their guitar player, so that's
Oh, wow. So did you
yeah.
guys get good shows back then? I mean, like, who would think our Little Rock would have a good, Christian metal scene or whatnot, So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
good
it
touring
was
band.
it was the fact that we, like, our first show at Vino's, um, which was like this pizza place. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not,
Mhm.
but it's like where every band play. Like Green Day played there like back in '89, whatever, like to 12 people. I was one of them.
Right.
Bruce and I would go to every show, but it was like a punk kind of hardcore
Yeah.
show, and we would mess, or ask them, let us open up for somebody, but we were metal, so it was still kind of like, yeah, you'll play over there,
Yeah.
whatever kind of attitude. But Shelter was coming into town
Love show.
on that first album, and so Fletcher, the guy that was booking everything, he thought it would be amusing to have this Christian metal band open up for this Christian hardcore band,
Yeah.
which worked.
Yeah.
And dude, I'll tell you that, I mean, they were so amazing. It was like, okay, that's a different level, because we were just sitting there headbanging, and so they were really super nice, and we hung out with them. I think Rob Fish from 108 was on tour as the guitar player, and he just gotten a new guitar, but it had a Floyd Rose, and he never had one. And Bruce had one for several years. So
Mhm.
it's really tricky, like when you're trying to put new strings on, because the thing will still float up, and you can't.
Okay.
You gotta know what you're doing if you're gonna restring it at Floyd Rose.
Okay.
And so Bruce like watched him like struggle with it for a little while, and then he's like, "Hey man, I can show you how to do that." And he's like, "Can you?" And so he fixed his guitar, and then after that, we were in like Flint, and
Yeah.
you know, in Furnace Fest when uh Youth of Today did that reunion show. We're walking back behind the stage or whatever, and um Ray, I still call him Ray, he
Mhm.
is. Yeah. But Ray comes walking down, and he just started, he's like, "I remember you guys. We're gonna like Vino's." And he was like, "Yeah, dude." He
Wow.
just stopped, and he saw Bruce and I walking up to him, and he was like, before we could say anything, he's like, "I remember you,"
That's
and
cool.
I was like, wow, I'll never forget that moment, because I have so much respect for everything he's done, and so we took a bunch of pictures and hung out and talked and everything. I just thought I was like, wow, dude, he's genuine, you know.
Yeah.
But after that show, we started drawing at Vino's, and we would pack it out. There's a fire station across the street, and they would come and shut it down because there's so many people. Like, I think us and Fugazi had the record. Like, we tied, like,
Nice.
yeah, it was packed.
Yeah. If that's a band to tie with, that's a great tie.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And what was
fantastic.
cool is we were friends with like all the hardcore kids,
Mhm.
and they loved us live because, I mean, people were jumping off and rolling. You
Mhm.
know, Little Rock never saw stage diving until they went to our show. Like,
That's
even the
great.
punk shows weren't enough people to do it good.
Yeah.
We had all the Christians, and then the metalheads, and then the hardcore kids. The hardcore kids was like, I know if I jump out there, I'm not going to hit the floor right away.
So, were there any
Yeah.
other Christian metal bands from Little Rock that you guys played with that just kind of maybe didn't make it or just kind of fell off the wayside?
Um, Not, I mean, there wasn't anybody at first, but then uh, one that comes to is Mind Rage, that had Jimmy LeCompte from Evanescence in it. You know, this was back when he was still metal. And so, you know, they had a demo out. I don't know if they put a record out, but you don't recognize the name Mind Rage or yeah. But not really, dude.
I mean,
We were the only game in town. Yeah. But Chad, the drummer, man, went down to Texas and ended up being in Society's Finest. Is that sound right? Down in Texas, you know who I'm talking about. But Tim Lambesis is from As I Lay Down was the singer for there.
Oh, okay.
While he left San Diego, moved to Texas.
Okay, yeah.
The guy from Mind Rage and Tim were in the band for about a year down in Dallas. So
wow,
yeah,
wow. What did
I don't know why I went down that deep rabbit hole.
You have a great memory.
That's my problem.
Are you still a Christian today, or where do you fall at? You are.
You know, yeah.
What do you think has kept you?
I don't go to church or anything, but
I hear you.
I still have faith.
Yeah. What keeps you having that faith year after year, just kind of like seeing how things are and whatnot? Like what keeps you grounded and what keeps you wanting to have that faith?
I have had points where I've struggled with it a lot, you know, and the first thing is like after I was out of the band, like everybody treated me different, you know, like it was kind of like, you know,
you think when you're back on the band?
Because I was hanging out with all these like straight, you know, it's like I went in another direction.
Okay.
Keep going to church, you know, I was just like, I was done with that part too. I didn't, I saw some hypocrisy and it really turned me off because after I left the band, the church that we were going to had a missionary program, a year-long missionary program. You know, I went to school for a whole year to become a missionary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was my plan. And after the end of that year, I just saw some things and I was like, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. But it didn't change the fact that I still believed. And so I just stopped going. And when I run into people, they, you know, it's kind of, I watched that Roger Martinez tribute. That cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, he, you know, when he said something about he hates when people come up and go and praying for me, people start doing that shit to me. And I'd be like, why? I'm not sick. I'm not, you know, like, you know, how do you know what I believe right now, you know, or where I'm at? You know, you're judging me, you know? And so that just got really old. And so then I just started avoiding, you know, I still hung out with Bruce and Lance, but, you know, I was just like, all the church people that I've been around for like 10 years at that point, I was just like, you know, I can't take it anymore. I'm going through it with the Earth Crisis.
Yeah. I mean, that actually makes more sense. It really does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that was for me just growing up in the being evangelical, you know, from, you know, birth until I started really having questions in my mid-teens that nobody could give me answers to. Even my pastors couldn't, my youth pastors couldn't. And then just as I got older, the more I've just looked into, you know, this kind of religion or this or that. And just, you know, for me, just dropping that extra pound of this part of the Christian dogma to this part of the Christian dogma to the point where I don't have the dogma anymore my life has just been so much more fulfilling and liberating than having, you know, a Bronze Age text that's telling me how to live that, you know, I had, you know, really no use for to begin with, other than, in my mind, than controlling people, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it was, you know, Lance, Bruce and I, and all our, you know, some people that we grew up with, we all went to the same church and everything. And that thing started happening when I wasn't around. And that was the kind of thing. If you missed a Sunday evening, hey, what, I didn't see you at church. Everything all right? You know, that kind of check. And I was like, you don't feel free after a while and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You know that you got to go have eyes put on you so everybody else is, you know, comfortable or whatever, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Mhm.
And every time there's always some money problem,
Oh,
you know.
I've always
And
said
I mean, I
God is
was
the
the
worst
favorite
person to
side
have
of
money in the world. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm just
God just
tired
can't
of
hang on to it.
it.
He always needs it. He needs
Yeah,
everybody to give it to him. I'm just like, you're
yeah,
God. What do you need money for, man? You know,
right,
so
right.
that,
I don't get to fly on your plane. What the hell?
yeah. Well, especially, I mean, a lot of those questions for me came when I was probably like 13, 14. We moved around it quite a bit when I was a kid. We lived either in Colorado Springs or Ventura, a little bit here in Kansas. So that's where my family's from. But for 2 years, we lived in Colorado Springs, and our pastor was Ted Haggard. He was that big,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I remember you saying that in one other one.
yeah,
I think it was the Doug Van Pelt one. That one was good too.
yeah.
But
And it was just one of those things where it's like looking around and seeing, years later, the Joel Osteens and the mega preachers of today. It doesn't feel Christian. It doesn't feel godly. It feels so materialistic and
yeah,
especially when they had that problem in Houston with that hurricane, and Joel Osteen was like, no, I'm not opening up the church to these people. It's like,
mhm.
and you hold 70.
Where's your compassion,
Yeah,
man?
man. Man, get some milk and cookies out for these kids. You know what I mean? Like, give them a blanket. Dude, well, if Jesus were here, what would he be doing for these people? You know?
He'd be going to get some fish and some bread and feeding them, all
Exactly.
of them. You
You
know,
know? Dude, so since you don't really go to church or anything, just you believe that your connection with God is just between you and him, and that's all it needs to be.
yeah, I think so. I don't feel the need to go out and witness or anything like that. I believe that me and the Lord are just good and just right.
Yeah, that's one of the most
I
refreshing.
don't know how to explain it to you. I just feel comfortable relying on Him in prayer, and
Mhm.
I get comfort, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
And you can believe me or not, but it works for me.
And I understand the feelings you're talking about, because I mean that's when people have said things in comments like well, I'm too judgmental or this, like, no, I'm not judgmental. I've been exactly where what you're saying, or what these other Christians are saying, where in that faith, it is that blanket that keeps you safe. It keeps you
Mhm.
secure, keeps you grounded, and to where, as a believer, when I was a, kid to a teenager, that, I had, God up there looking after me that I could go to, and he had something, in his plan that's going to make me, however it turns out. I understand
Yeah.
the safety in that. I mean, there are times, as even now as an atheist, I'm like, man, that's a good feeling. I wish I really had something like that in this day and age.
Mhm.
And I remember, I'm like, I do. I have my family.
Right.
I have my friends. I have myself, in the inner strength I have in myself. Where I mean, I've been in so many situations where it wasn't God that got me out of it. It was me. So
Right. Oh, yeah.
therefore, I have
Yeah.
that sanctuary in me.
Right. I never expected God to like come and, you know, put me in a safe place when I wasn't, which I've been in unsafe places. But um, I just believe that um, each to his own. Like if you just take like the Beatitudes that Christ, and I think you said it with Doug, and you were talking about like a lot of the Eastern religions and stuff. That it does parallel, it
Very
does.
much so.
You can't deny that, I
Yeah.
mean, my
Well, I
chocolate
mean,
Russian lab, its name is Shiva.
yeah. Yeah, and
So,
Christ, if he
so
was
yeah,
if
I don't
he was real, would have been influenced with, especially in Jerusalem, would have had
right.
Sumerian and Egyptian and all these other beliefs, and especially with Hinduism, which is the oldest known religion. Goes back 15,000 years. So
Right.
that there are so many more influences that Christ had, where if he was somebody that was real, I think he was a great preacher. I think he was a great humanitarian. I don't believe the divinity, but I mean, if he did exist, I'm not. And that's the thing I have to tell a lot of people. I'm not really anti-Jesus. Like I think Jesus had a lot of really cool stuff to say.
Right.
I'm anti-God, because of the things in the Old Testament that God allows. Me and my mother were having this conversation about a month ago, and because she's still a hardcore and she's very, very, upset that I'm not a believer. And, she asked me, she goes, well, what would change your mind? What's going to change your mind? And I go, I don't know, but God knows. And if God was real, he'd be able to do it, and she goes, well, what if God appeared to right in front of you? And at this point in time, I had to look at my mom. I would have serious questions about his divinity because, like kids that getting sick, things that, throughout the natural world that happen that God either created or allows to happen. So therefore, what kind of deity for me deserves worship when he can't even be kind to certain aspects of life?
Right. I understand that. Yeah. I just think that, the way I believe is, we are flawed because of the original sin, and that it's kind of like a wake when you throw a stone in a pond. It's going to continue on.
Yeah.
Things aren't going to get better before they get fixed.
And I'm not trying to be rude on that aspect because I understand what you're saying, but I had this conversation with my father because he was like, well, original sin. I'm like, and I looked at my dad because he's kind of an old fashioned kind of guy. And I'm like, well, you don't believe in reparations. And he's like, well, no, why would I pay for what my ancestors did that I had nothing to do with? And I go,
yeah,
right there, my friend, why am I being punished for something that I had no concept of, no participation of? So therefore, this whole lineage of what I call a curse, with original sin, it's like that I'm not getting judged to my merit. I'm already prejudged that I'm this no matter what. And therefore, there's nothing I can do about it unless I bend the knee. And I don't think that's godly. I think that's very, very ungodly.
Yeah. The way I look at it is that we're all related, and we're all related to the original humans that were started this whole dream, whatever it is, So we're all connected, and we're all flawed. I mean, but that's what I was saying. Like, you don't have to believe Jesus was a real person that walked, I do, on this earth. But if you just take what he taught and you live your life like that, people wouldn't be able to tell if you're a Christian or not. You're just a good person.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is like treating others like you want to be treated, and just, that's all you have to do,
But do you think Jesus is necessary for us to have that concept of grace and brotherly connection to where we're just good people? Do we need a deity to tell us to be good? Where I think as people, there's always going to be horrible things, but I think as people, we don't want to be horrible. I think we want to be good people.
Some of us. Some people.
There's always the psychos, man. You know what I mean? You can't make everybody. But I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
well,
I think for me, I think I see more compassion and I see more compassion and universalism in secular humanism than I do in Christianity, because Christianity is about the blame or the damnation, and God doesn't want this, God doesn't want that, you're going to hell for this, you're going to hell for that. Where I think once you drop that and you just say, hey, man, just be a good person no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now, but no, you're fine, nigga. but yeah, like I said, oh, I knew, the reason why I believe that Jesus was necessary is because of the prophecy in Isaiah and the Old Testament. You
Mhm.
know, I believe, I studied, you know, for a whole year, and that's all I did, and absorbing
Mhm.
translations and all this stuff. And so, you know, the story that's written down there, the way it was fulfilled in the New Testament. I mean, by design, I couldn't do that, and so that's why I think that Christ had to be, that prophecy had to be fulfilled.
Totally. I mean, and that's the thing. I'm not the person that wants to get rid of religion. I think there are
Yeah.
aspects of religion that people need. My thing, just totally, especially in this last few years, is just especially with the extreme conservatism of Christianity. Just
Mhm.
keep it to yourself. Let me
Yeah.
live my life. Don't make rules and regulations and laws based upon what you believe is moral or ethical or right, and
Right.
live my life. And man, you guys Easter it up all the time. You know what I mean. You can believe in
Oh,
whatever, man. Have fun with it. I
right.
don't want you not to. I'm not trying to deny your freedom for your faith. I just don't
Mhm.
deny my freedoms for my lack of.
Right. Right. I mean, we never preached from the stage. I mean, I might introduce a song that, this is about such and such Christ or something, but we just short and sweet got into the music stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and, it was, we did a tour with, and when Inhabit came out, we did a tour of Malevolent Creation. And, we're all excited. Do you know who Don Dacker is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, he was this promoter, and I get a call, and he's like, "Hey, you're gonna want to put you on the road with Malevolent." And we were like, "Oh yeah," because I mean,
That's
Ten
awesome.
Commandments and Retribution, dude, was
Yeah.
out with smoke. But yeah. So we went out on the road with them, and we get to the first show before them, and then they pull up because we're all apprehensive, like, man, they're gonna think we're like Striper or something, because that's people would say, "Oh, the death metal Striper," huh? And mess with us or whatever, just joking around. But um, so uh, we we greeted them and everything, and on the rider it said that Malevolent gets a case of beer, and we get a case of beer. We weren't drinking on the road. We were like, "Hey guys, we're going to get a case every night. Y'all want them?
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't leave them here." And they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we'll take them." And,
Yeah.
then that sealed the deal right there. They were like, "You don't need anything else?" And Lance and Alex Rodriguez had done. They were, because we had such small trailers. Lance brought one bass drum and Alex brought one, and so it was kind of a split kit for the double bass. It's
Right.
before, like, everybody started using pedals.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so Alex and Lance came real tight. It was just like by the second day or something, we were all just like having fun,
Yeah.
and you know,
See, and that's a
and,
perfect example of, and unfortunately, there's so many judgmental people in the metal crowd that should have been that would say you should have been on that tour. Why weren't you preaching?
right,
Why weren't you doing this?
yeah,
I mean, and that's the thing. Like I see it a lot on Facebook with a lot of the older metal bands, Michael Sweet, Michael Sweet, Michael Sweet,
mhm,
he
yeah,
comes all the time. He's like, we should be judged on our music alone. And, we've missed out on so many opportunities because we're Christians. I want to find Michael on the show, which I've tried. His manager will not do it. I want to be like,
he didn't get
Michael,
the message.
yeah. I'm like, Michael, man, you're not getting the tours because nobody gives a shit about you, man. That's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not your music. Like they could put out new music, and I think the last couple records they put out recently in the couple years is some of the best music they've put out.
Yeah, it's surprising. Yeah,
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 I think I'm just like, man, this reminds me of like
yeah,
Tell the Devil, Soldiers Under Command era. But I'm like,
yeah,
Michael, man, like you're the Bumblebee guys. Nobody cares.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Like,
Exactly. Yeah,
nobody cares about napalm. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about Entombed unless you're really into that kind of stuff.
Right.
Let's move past that. Those bands, unless you're in that scene, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, you're right. And and that was funny that Jimmy made that comment on the Roger thing with, he's like, oh, you got rid of the striper background, huh?
It's for George.
Yeah.
No. And
yeah,
it's like that. It's like with George. I love George, man, but it's like nobody gave a shit about Recon. Nobody cared about Recon, dude. Yeah. Like they care about you because you were on one of the best fucking thrash albums of the '90s. You know what I mean? Like you were, you were on, Weapons of Warfare, and then what a joke! Like,
yeah,
Recon sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I'm sorry, man. Like, and I'm not saying that their musicians, their talent sucks, but like, I don't give a shit about worldview. I don't give a shit about It's not right. And I'm not trying to be rude, but like, I wouldn't spend my money on Christian music today anyway, because I don't care. I don't want to support it. So therefore, I mean, they can be the best band in the world, but if I just wouldn't support it,
Right. Well, that's, yeah. It is I think like with Sacrifice, they, especially after I left, they got a different acknowledgement. And so they're not, I don't know if like some people really consider them a Christian band, like still, you know what I'm saying? Because they had, it kind of grown.
It seems like they were definitely different, distancing themselves from that scene and just trying to stay.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I get that, but then there's a part of me that goes, you're either going to be a crowd Christian band and always have the balls to be like, we're a Christian band. It's like I watched a thing with Sonny from POD, and this was an interview you did a couple years ago, and he said it on the interview. He was like, yeah, we were never like that Christian band. I'm like, yeah, you were. Your first album had Jesus put a fucking Glock to Satan. Right. You like. It's stuff like that. Like
looking like a Christian book,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here's my thing. Like, if you want to be a musician, just be a musician. But I think sometimes with the gimmick of Christian, it might be easier to get your records out there, and then you hit that mainstream. It seems like all the Christian bands want to be Christian until they hit that mainstream success. Mm-hmm. And they want to be like, oh, well, we're just Christians, but we're not a Christian band. Like all those new metal bands from the 2000s, like Norma Jean and all those horrible, horrible metal bands that just sucked.
Yeah.
The white
I was like, I'm on the sidelines, but, I still,
No, man, you're OG, man. You wrote the blueprint for the good, because were making good music. These kids are making carbon copy of a carbon copy of shit they think is cool that it's not.
Right.
And I mean, you try to open up for Suicidal or Slayer and see what happens. Those real metalhead kids are going to beat the shit out of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know what you're saying. It was, everybody was just kind of all of a sudden got wishy-washy once they got to a certain level, and it's like, oh, so you just got on tooth and nail because of their distribution.
Yeah.
The contract probably wasn't good at all, but you still did it just to get your name out there,
I mean, I'll give that to I'll give especially tooth and nail bands like to Unashamed, to Focus, to Strong Arm, to like those. It seemed like that era of like tooth and nail with hardcore stuff. Those dudes were hardline, and that's what I still appreciate and will respect about them, because one, their music was legit. They weren't copying everybody. They weren't being weak about it. But two, man, they did not give a shit about people caring if they knew they were Christian or not. They were intense about it, And that's what I love.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what I respect. That I totally respect.
The first tour that Unashamed went on, they stayed at my house for about a half a week before they headed back to Cali, and one of them, I can't remember if it was Bobby or who it was exactly, but they had worked at the Kmart before. So we went into this Kmart, and we went in there, and we walk up by the Blue Light Special phone that's the intercom, and he knew the code. And so he's like, so he'd be like, Blue Light Special on men's underwear. Come get men's underwear. You know, he'd like say stupid stuff and hang the phone up, and then run to the next one because everyone's like, which phone are they at? So we like ran around the Kmart, just causing havoc, you know.
And that's just young fucking around, having fun, you know.
Yeah.
You don't hurt nobody. It's just, you know, you're causing a little bit of trouble, having a little bit of havoc, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, just I think
when you name a band, my mind instantly go to like the stories. It's like files I can open, and so
that's awesome.
That's why I'm like, oh, I gotta tell them that.
That is one of the most refreshing thing about talking with you is that I'm not having just to talk about the Christian band. When you're bringing up like you played the Shelter in 108, and I'm just like, I love Christian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
You know, Bold, all those bands. I'm like, man, this you know, it makes me happy that the mind of yours is not just, it's got to be Christian. You know, you're like,
right.
Love and Christian, which I would have never fucking thought could have taken you on tour or you know, that you would have accepted because of the backlash. You know, it's like, I just saw a post yesterday, I guess, Mortification's getting back together without Steve.
Yeah, something I didn't get into it.
I just kind of read it for a second. I guess you're going to be doing a South American tour with a guy from Crimson Thorn is doing the he's doing the vocals, and I think it's Jason and
he's from Minneapolis. I know he's from Minneapolis.
Oh really? Oh yeah.
You do Crimson Thorn. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we played First Ave in Minneapolis when we were on the Malevolent tour. Okay. We had 2 shows. We had a matinee, no drinking, kids, all ages, and then we had the 7 o'clock, let's get drunk and get in the pit show. Yeah. You know, so but they opened up for us that show, and we had played with them at the New Union. I don't know if you've ever heard of that club, but it was like a Christian club in Minneapolis. That it was pretty cool. We'd always got a good crowd there. It was in this building that was the penthouse up there was where the band stayed. Nice. So we get up there on the roof and like mess with people and stuff, those stuff off. And goofy.
That's what I'm saying with certain bands, belief system or not, man. There's a legitimacy of talent and authenticity of the music.
I know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I said, I remember when I first heard the self-titled, I was like, "What is this?" You know, I remember I got it at the Christian bookstore, and my mom wouldn't let me play it in the car. My CD player, my tape deck at the time was broken.
Right.
So I had to wait till the next day to get to school.
Oh, wow.
I walked in at school, and I ditched the first period and hid in the bathroom and just listened to it. I was just like,
"Wow, that's the neat." Yeah.
I mean, the minute it hit, I was just like, "This is different." This hit in a way where, like, especially being a skateboarder, like I couldn't.
Yeah, that was by design too.
Yeah,
we wanted.
I couldn't go in Lovegood.
Dude.
Yeah, stay with my friends. They'd laugh at me. How can you not like the Striper? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The 2 bands that I could bring that my friends wouldn't, not let me listen to was Pillars of Humanity, Crucified, and then Scrolls of Megalos. But this third one where I'm like, check this out. And of course, I was a Christian right there, always advocating for the Christian bands, going, "Come on, guys, you don't need to listen to Slayer or DSI anymore."
Oh, yeah.
This, which I think is a hindrance, especially.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
it's like,
but you're just babes in the woods. You're naive. Your brain's not developed yet either. You're just.
We're trying to be the best Christian we can be.
Yeah, dude. I was right there with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many albums and stuff I ordered from the Baptist bookstore that I absolutely hated and wouldn't listen to, but I was like, well, I'm supporting the bands, at least that. I never listened to it, but I bought their record.
Yeah. Or you buy one of them and there might be a song you like, Anybody
Yeah.
going just because there wasn't anything else to fucking buy, you know?
Oh,
There
yeah,
was no
dude.
new music. I mean,
Yeah.
another band I really dug for like the first four records, Bride. I really dug Bride.
Oh, I love Bride, dude.
Show No Mercy,
Yeah.
uh,
What's the second one?
Silence is Madness,
Mhm.
Live to Die. Like those. Once they got
Yeah.
to the Playground, I was done. I was like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I was never the long-haired, good-looking dude. I was never the guy that could play in Guardian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good-looking guy.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I was a bass player, so I played punk and hardcore stuff. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't like, they were like, no matter my bass skills or not, they're not like, you're the perfect fit to replace, Tim Gaines for Striper. You have the look. That's not me. I'd be like, what's up, dude?
On this wig.
Yeah, I'd be like, So yeah, I mean, there was just such little music back then that
Oh yeah, dude. Tell me about it.
that was authentic. That just didn't feel produced.
I ordered every demo out of Evans Metal.
What's that?
I ordered everything that a demo out of Evans Metal.
Yeah.
And I would just, even if it was like, oh, this is hard Southern rock, I would just order it just to support the bands itself. Like, I was at the time, and I would just send off or whatever and try to support the scene, but man, there was no good production. A lot of people couldn't play.
Or it was just cheap. It was just
it was the same old thing,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, like getting respect from like Malevolent and other bands that are like in the the mainstream or whatever. Like by the second show, we were playing. I think it was Detroit. And do you remember My Life with a Thrill Kill Call?
Oh yeah, great band.
Right. The other band their side band was like Hellfire Club.
Oh yeah, the Hellfire. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those dudes were at the show
Nice.
to see Malevolent, but when we were on, they were right up front of me, like Jesus, hell, Satan, and just screaming at me the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're like got their buddies and everybody's fucking with me. And we just roll through it,
Yeah.
I don't even acknowledge them. I don't even say anything. And so we get off and it's our second show of Malevolent. And we're like thinking, God, they're going to kick us off. They're going to think like we're going to get heckled every night.
Yeah.
And we're like, gosh, man, I hope they don't say anything. And they did, or Alex did. Alex, when they got up on stage, they played 2 songs, and those dudes were up front, just they loved that,
Yeah.
They didn't like me or Sacrifice, but then the second song ended for the break or whatever, and Alex stood up and grabbed his cymbal mic and said, "Hey, anybody here who's got a problem with Living Sacrafice, you come up here and talk to me right now."
Nice.
I mean, you. And he pointed at those dudes, turned around and went back to the bar, and they stayed there the rest of the night.
Nice.
Because Alex was a big dude. He was like tried out for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
And he was a hoss. Like when he did that, I was like, I just turned to Lance and was like, I think we're good.
Like it's also like your contemporary, even though you have a different belief structure, was defending. I mean, this is a good fucking band.
Right.
Like I said earlier,
they're good dudes. They're not like, we're not trying to like, hey, can I pray with you?
Yeah.
Can we pray with you before the show? It'd
be different if like in every song you were pounding it and saying, come to this.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're just like, hey man, this is what our heart's saying, but we're just gonna kick ass, you know what I mean? That's the best.
Dude, that kills so much energy of a good show. Somebody just stops and starts preaching. It's like, what just happened? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a non-believer and saw that, I'd be like, I just want to hear the music, man.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. I think there's a big difference between ministry and business. And that's my big problem I have with the Christian industry all the way around, whether it's a pastor, youth pastor, anything. It's like, if you're going to be a ministry, man, be a ministry, but that shit better be free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus never charged for the gospel. You want to be a band? You want to be an empire? You want to be a business? Cool. But then conduct yourself as a business, you know? And again, like you were saying, if I'm paying my money to see you do a show, do the show. I already know. You've already got my money. You know why I'm there. You know? Make yourself available afterwards to anybody who wants to chat, but do your show.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you know, that's what we did, and that's what they continue to do. It's just like, be at the merch table, hanging out. If you don't talk about anything, we're there, you know. But I think that was such a better approach to like some of the things that people were doing, you know. I mean,
I agree.
You know, each to his own. But when we got signed to REX, you know, I'm on the phone with Doug, and you know, all excited and everything, and he was like, DJ, just know this: there is nothing Christian about the Christian music business. Business. It's music business. Don't get confused. And he's like, just go with that. And so I was like, yeah. And I mean that, you know, I saw a lot of people get bitter because of you know, getting screwed over on the publishing, not getting the royalties, you know, different things like that. And it really, you know, it was almost like some aspects of the Christian music industry, you know, ate itself, you know, off and made good faith believing people run away from it, you know.
Or even people that, you know, just had to keep faking that faith because it was their paycheck.
Yeah. I can't imagine living like that, dude.
You know, I'm not ever a big DC Talk fan at all. Don't care about their music. But, you know, in the last few months, I guess one of the Black Seers came out where he was homosexual the whole time. And, you know, I guess there was... What's that?
I said, it's not just that he's gay. It's just other stuff that he was doing on, you know, me, like messing with some young boys or something.
Like, some inappropriate stuff.
And
that sucks that, you know, because of that machine that is the Christian music industry that wants that music and that money and, you know, whatnot. That, you know, maybe if he had the freedom to come out and just be who he was, you know, but then he knows the paychecks would have stopped. So, I mean, what do you do when, you know, I mean, like, luckily you as a young kid and, you know, into a man that, you know, walked away from it, found something else. But when, you know, that's what you are, and that's what you're, you know, that huge machine is running, and it's dependent on you. So what, you know, I mean, I feel so sorry for these guys that are trapped in this, you know, purgatory of judgment and you know, losing their career and losing, you know, the accolades and the everybody wants a good life. Nobody wants to be poor and you know, eating hot dogs 4 days a week. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to have a house and you know, maybe a pool and hang out, you know, and have a good life. But, you know, and the Christian industry, to those people, will give it to some, but then they'll snatch that shit away from you, one kick you and leave you for dead, and won't heal you and won't take care of you and bring you back into the fold. That's what I said to Doug on that, you know, and he was like, you know, we were telling everybody stop talking to Roger. I'm like, that was the wrong thing to do. You should have been telling everybody to keep talking to Roger, even if Roger was a dick to you, even if Roger was mean to you, you know. If you love eventually is going to get through, and it's going to melt that heart, and somehow, you know, it might not bring him back to Jesus, but at least he'll see that people cared about him. And that's the thing I think with so many musicians. And I've got to say, you know, I'm so thankful for you and for every other guest I've had that have opened up their time and their hearts and their experiences with me, because you guys were part of my life for many, many years, especially when I was a teenager growing up. And you guys, you know, you from White Cross to you guys, you know, everybody in between, Striper was the soundtrack to my not only my youth, my growing up, my spiritual, you know, awakenings, to my spiritual walking away. you guys, and I still listen. I mean, people talk, they're like, well, if you hate Christians so much, why do you listen to these guys? I'm like, because their music's awesome. I love
Right.
the side. I don't give a shit that they talk about Satan because I don't believe that either. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So, like, if it's great
Exactly.
tunes, it's great tunes. I don't care what you sing about.
I finally got over the fact that I can buy a copy of Rain and Blood and listen to it. Okay. You know, I mean, dude, when Rain and Blood came out, this guy in North Arkansas had been out like a little while, and this guy, he had a, satanic coven or whatever, and he was just a goofball, but he loved Slayer and Altar of Sacrifice. He got obsessed with that song, and like one night he attacked his parents. And like,
that Scott Sellers guy that ended up killing his parents and his daughter.
No, this was in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like up in North Arkansas, but it was on the front page of our Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And it talked about Slayer and had a little picture of the album cover. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't, we weren't into Slayer. Metallica was like the heaviest thing at the time. We were just catching up. We Ride and Master came out at the same time, but we were just catching up, and they're like, "Oh, Slayer, okay, we got to go get that." But it was on the front cover of the paper, and so we went down to the record shop, and they had a copy, and we bought it. But for some reason, instead of just putting it under our shirt and walking in with it, we were at Bruce's house. We thought if their parents saw that we were carrying that record, that they would be like, "Hey, that's the record that your parents get beat up at,"
Mm-hmm.
So we're outside, and I'm like flinging the record up to the window so you can catch it, so we can go listen to it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, the first time that we all heard it, Lance was there too. We didn't totally get it. We were just like, wow, what just happened? Because it's so short.
Yeah.
It's so fast, and you're like, what's going on? Because your brain, now I can, I was telling my friend the other day, it's like, when I first started getting into like death metal and black metal, I couldn't understand it. Like now I can put on something I'm brain calibrated to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and once Slayer took, man, that was it. It was like, Lance wrote about 85% of the first album.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's a guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote a lot of those. Like, just go over to his house because we practiced in the garage and waiting on Bruce to get there or something. But he just sit there and play Slayer. He knew every song in Rain and Blood. He could just play that. So, but yeah, we definitely that was the band that made.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, it's scary too. I mean, West Memphis, Arkansas. How far away is that from you guys?
Man, it's about an hour 30.
Okay. I mean,
like John Bailey says, it's a 12-pack from Little Rock.
I'm sure you're probably aware of, the guys from the West Memphis 3 back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But that's also the scary thing is, because of zealot, misinformation, bigotry and everything, man, 3 guys that listen to Slayer and were weird, spent, 20 years in prison, one of them on death row,
Yeah.
That's, a lot of that.
Yeah. I've read his book and it's crazy. I mean, it didn't get that man. He's strong man, strong mind. And the fact that, that they tried to stifle that, I mean, he wouldn't have, it's almost like a blessing for him because he's so much better off than just growing up there. Living there the rest of his life than the life he has now.
Yeah.
I think he would say the same damn thing. But
very scary thing of late,
Oh, I grew up so I know. Yeah. It was hard, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you have parents freaking out over. I mean, even when I started listening to Christian metal, I mean, my mom didn't, believe that this was Christian. I think what tape was it? I think this was, I think it was Vengeance is Once Dead. I bought it at a record store. It was like $4 and I got it. Mm-hmm. And then she turned it on and there's no way this is Christian. No way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no way. I mean, with the album covers, I think
Yeah.
that's a little bit of just a little bit of the tiff I have with the Christian metal, punk, hardcore, it's whatnot, is that everybody's appropriating the secular world, especially metal. You know
Mhm.
what I mean, like
Yeah.
there was no without Slayers and Venom and all these Motorheads and all these bands that really were the first forerunners of heavy Metallicas, whatnot. But
Mhm.
they do everything in their power to look, sound, have artwork, have band logos that look very secular, but then, oh no,
Yeah.
we have to, we're Christian. So therefore, I think there is a bit of hypocrisy in that where we have to look worldly to get noticed so that we can get our message to Christ. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah, I do. I mean,
It's like vegans wanting
well, we got so much
bacon.
shit for the non-existent album cover. It was ridiculous, you know? Like, it was like,
I'll have to relook that.
God, huh?
I'm gonna look that one up. I don't remember the Living Sacrifice non-existent album cover. Oh yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's got us in negative and it's got all those skulls and
Yeah,
stuff. My dad took that photo, rest in peace.
that's a
But
that's a cool
yeah.
cool album.
Or yeah, that like, you know, I heard stories later, like there were some Christian bookstores, they just kept it under the counter, like kids would have to ask for it.
Yeah.
When Doug Mann left, he produced that album, um, but he left REX shortly after that, just because he had some disagreements and didn't like the direction they were going and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really cool, amazing guy.
I'm sure.
Love it. Yeah, but so he went to work um, uh, for Audio Adrenaline. What label were they on? I think DC Talk was on the same label.
Word or something like that.
Yeah, whatever label it was. He went to work
Yeah.
for that label, and he was A&R for Audio Adrenaline, and so he'd hang out with the DC Talk dudes too. But he said, yeah, after I left REX and your album came out, he's like, there was this industry magazine, like Inside Christian Industry Magazine, that focused on what was going on and the trend and everything. And they had an article in there about how the bands were getting too secular and too rough around the edges, so to speak. And they used that album cover to start the article off with as an example. So Doug gets called into a meeting, and the owner of the label comes in, and he's got the magazine. He's like, he holds it up. He's like, see, this is what I'm talking about. We need to like tighten up the shit. You know, we can't, you know, we can't have an article like this and Living Sacrafice or whatever. You know, and Doug was like, yeah, I produced that album. And everyone's just like, you know, turned their heads, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. And then Doug was like, and you know what I did the next day? I went into my closet and I got the long sleeve non-existent shirt that you guys gave me. And because he always wore like a button down and everything. He's like, I wore that motherfucker into work. You know?
Well,
And he said he walked in
like the first
a
mortification.
couple of people, huh?
The first mortification record with not the green like pit of hell, but it was just
Right.
theirs. And then with Destruction Comes, the third vintage, and have that sticker over the bodybuilder that was just kind of like
Yeah, I remember that.
And that sticker was so cheesy. It was like, huh. Actually, I was like, I mean, but nobody gave, I mean, Bride Silence of Madness covers was way more intense than the those two records.
Yeah.
Skull in the jail and everything. It's or
well, I think
it's seven, the horse of death coming down, the pale horse.
Yeah.
Those were way more like, intense than anything.
Yeah.
Deliverance was doing or Tourniquet.
Yeah. I never liked any of those covers really. I was like, but it is what it is. And I like the new we weren't ever really 100% sold on like Inhabit cover. And so like the reissue, I don't know if you've seen it,
Oh, yeah.
but the guy that did that is the singer for Monstrosity.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So he he I was following him on Facebook just because I like Monstrosity. Like we played with Monstrosity on that tour with Malevolent when Corpse Grinder was in the band.
Nice.
Yeah. But I digress. But yeah, he had a uh the cross thing that we put in the non-existent logo. He had that on his arm in a band photo for their last album, and I was like, oh, and so I hit him up. I was like, hey man, and he's like, oh dude, that's my first tattoo. He's since covered it up because it was, like mine are all faded. I don't have many, but
Yeah.
they're all, 30 years old.
So I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking to the choir here.
Yeah, that was Crucified was my first time.
Oh yeah.
But no, I've had it touched. I got it touched up about 10 years ago. But
hey man, that pops out, man.
yeah, it was old. I got it out for my 14th birthday, which is so weird. My parents were
That's
like
crazy.
so strict about metal, but like at 14, I'm like, I'm gonna have my first tattoo. They're like, cool, let's do it. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
go figure, But
Yeah.
my mom was. I'll say this about mom, even though she was very guardianship of what I listened to. Like my mom made sure I got to go to the shows I wanted to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We lived in Ventura, which is an hour away from Hollywood. So I mean, it was kind of a pain in the ass to get down there every now and then.
Yeah.
So I mean, but like I said, would I take any of my kids and drop them off in Reseda in 1990 at fucking 9 p.m. and be like, have fun?
Yeah.
There's no way in hell.
Back at 11. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like, show's over midnight, I'll be back, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, my mom was cool. I mean, she would make sure that, like I said, I got to see Mortification when they first came to the States, and they were playing in Los Alamitos, which was like an hour and a half from us, and
Yeah.
drove down, and
What year was that?
what's that?
What year was that?
That would have been 90. I want to say Post Momentary Affliction was about to come out.
Uh-huh.
Or
Because we toured with them in 93. Like,
yeah,
we took them out, like, we did 60 dates. They did the first 30 with us.
okay, then yeah, that's the only time they were ever here was back in 93.
Yeah.
And Johnny Vasquez was playing drums.
Yeah. We'd mess with him all the time. Lance and I would like throw ice when he's playing on him and stuff. And he just like,
But yeah, good guy. He's a nice guy.
It was fun.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that when I interviewed Jason Sherlock for Mortification, I was 16, 17 at the time, and I'd been in bands since 18 until about 5 years ago. I used to do professional security for a living. I mean, played in bands for years, so I mean, like my memory is not everything about everything. But yeah,
right.
He was like, yeah, I wasn't on that tour. It was Johnny. I was like, no shit. He's like, yeah, I've never been to America. I'm like, well, I didn't know that. I would have.
Yeah.
It didn't matter because the show was so intense. I mean, I remember my parents finally come to pick me up, and it's like 11. There's kids on the sidewalk, bloody faces, and
right. So we didn't play. You didn't see us. Like
this was in California.
Yeah, I mean, we went all the way up.
That's the thing, man. I don't remember who played with them.
We went all the way past San Francisco to California City, and then back down. And
I remember you guys then, but like I don't remember who. I don't remember.
They might have had like a show that they did without us, but we took them out on that tour. We had the tour set up, and Steve had gotten in touch with Dave Kinnevater. He had a magazine called This Prophecy.
Yeah,
and he was like our tour manager, and he's the one that set up all those dates. And Steve was in contact with him, and he was like, "Well, do you think we can get on the tour and everything?" We're like, "Come on!" And so, we facilitated them having dates already on the books. Yeah, and so I don't know if they played like a show or two without us.
It was at some armory place in Los Alamitos, California.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, dude. I keep everything. I've got all the flyers.
Man, look, I would love to know because it's been driving me crazy for years. I'm like, I don't remember who. I think I want to
Yeah.
think. I think the band Everyday Life was one of the openers.
Okay.
I think so.
I've got the flyers, but yeah, we played the Stone too in San Francisco, which was cool.
That'd have been
And
cool.
it was right after the Headbangers Ball with Anthrax. It just were, you
Oh,
know,
right on.
like the weekend before or whatever. So, but yeah, we got to do that. And then when we came back down, we played at Sanctuary at like 8 in the morning, like in church. Yeah,
You had a
they
show
had
at
us
8
do
in the
like a
morning?
song. Yeah, like wherever
Oh,
church was. Yeah, but
was
yeah,
there a
we
lot of
played
people
like,
there?
huh?
Was there a lot of people who show up for that show at 8 in the morning?
Well, no, it was church service.
Oh,
It was the
church
actual
service.
service.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was weird, but we were like, yeah, we'll do it. But
Yeah, I've tried to get Bob on the show quite a few times. He just isn't about it. But like, I found him weird back then. I mean, like, I'm not saying
yeah,
it's not. It's just like there's something about that guy that I just find phony. Not in his religion,
yeah. Why did you give
just
you
in
an
his music.
excuse?
Like, especially back in the day, like his sanctuary thing is like he was always just trying to hop onto every band. He'd be like, they're part of us. They're part of us. And
Mhm.
you look at Bob back then, and like when I was going to Sanctuary when Roger was preacher and George with Giorgio Cho was the
Yeah,
associate pastor, and
yeah,
Bob would show up in his snakeskin boots and his white fringe leather, and I'm just like, dude, you're not a like poser. Just what I mean? Just like
yeah,
poser, man. Like I get it. Like
yeah,
you love Guardian and you love Striper and those guys. I get that, but I was 14. I was like, fuck those bands, man. I want to hear aggressive music. And I'm not saying
yeah.
not saying that. Never met him. I've always thought that his intention on music was about the glorification of himself and his mission and what he was doing, not the bands.
Right. And man, because I didn't come from that world. It all seemed kind of weird to me
Yeah,
because like I said, my parents were upset I took down my Jesus Priest poster. So it all kind of seemed like kind of hokey to me, and
yeah.
you know, and that's I don't know how he got into the sanctuary thing with Intense Records, but like every Intense tape or record you got, it was like a section like this
Yeah.
on the print on the
I'm Bob Beeman. I run.
yeah. It's like he's got his own little section on every record, and it's like I definitely did not want that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I interviewed Ray from Sacred Warrior, and they were from Chicago.
Yeah.
I was like,
I,
he's like, we didn't, we just were on the label, and they just kept putting us on there. He's like, we had no say in that. It was just the label saying
wow.
get on there. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's fucked up, man.
Uh,
I'm I'm endorsing something I'm not endorsing. So
yeah. Dude, we were recording.
like I said, I mean, nothing against the guy personally. I no ill will or intention or anything. It just
Mhm.
back in the day, that was my vibe. Is like poser, like you should go.
Yeah.
You should be seeing Slaughter. Not go see a fucking Nelson Twins. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
or Winger. Go see
Definitely.
Winger.
Yeah. Yeah. We were recording in Habit with Joey and Kurt up there at their studio, Trauma Studios.
Mhm.
And actually, Conviction, you remember Jim Winter's Conviction? That 7-inch
Don't know
hardcore.
that one.
Anyway, he ended up playing with Earth Crisis, but
Oh, right on.
radio chance. But anyway, and he played on some Believer records, Jimmy Winters. But so we're up there at Trauma Studios recording in their studio, which is in the basement of like this 200-year-old rock house that Joey grew up in. It's really cool. But
Nice.
Believer at the time was on Roadrunner, and so like in the insert of like Believer Dimensions or whatever, it had a great merchandise part, and so there's deicide shirts, obituary shirts,
Yeah.
And so we're in the studio and the phone rings, and it's somebody. They somehow tracked down where the Believer was, or their studio or something, from the label, or I don't know. It was like some Christian girl, and she called and she was like, why are there advertisements for deicide in your record, and like started going, off about that, and I'm like,
The opposite
well, hey, it's
number.
better than like maybe Sanctuary and Bob Beeman's face. I don't know, you know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I was like, it is, he spent like an hour work. I videotaped it again. I recorded it, but he spent like about an hour just trying to convince her, like how believer still was an example, was a light on the hill,
Yeah.
kind of a deal. It doesn't matter. He's like, I have no control over that.
Yeah.
It's an agreement that they have with the merchandise company.
Yeah.
It's on every record, that they put out. He's like, that's not a choice that I have.
Yeah. It's no different than when Nuclear Blast re-released Girls of Metal-Off, and everybody was pissed about it.
Yeah.
All the Satanists were sending in letters like, kill them, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever, I
Yeah.
it's always kind of bothered me, just annoying me about when we were like, the Satanists, because if you know anything about Satanism, because I was a member of the Church of Satan for many years,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the devil. It's a human,
Yeah.
very, very just natural kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not what Christians think it is at all. A lot of theater, a lot of drama, a lot of San Francisco people, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
like, the Satanists are. It's like when I interviewed Les Carlson, he was like, every town we went to, the Satanists were there protesting. I'm like, dude, you're talking about a bunch of kids that are just being shocking. Like,
Yeah.
doing anything. These aren't devil worshippers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you want to talk to guys like, I can't remember the singer of Behemoth, who was a real occultist,
Mm-hmm.
there are those people that really do believe in that. Yeah, whatever his name is. Behemoth is.
Well, no. I was giving you another example of that. Watain.
Oh yeah, Wu-Tang. Yeah.
That is serious.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
but for most the Satanist community, it has nothing. We're not eating babies.
No.
We're not.
They just want
to the satanic orgy.
do what they want.
Come on,
Yeah. Yeah, Lance and I got into it when we were younger. We started dabbling in it and read black magic books and Sacred Bible and all that stuff, and it didn't take, but
we were like,
I mean, it's fun when you're a kid to like, like, oh, this is taboo, that's what you do, but
and then in your 40s,
serious about it, weird stuff starts happening,
Never with me. Never. I tried all that stuff. It was boring as hell.
Really.
Never had.
We got scared, dude.
Really. But also,
let's call it. You want to call it?
Knowing that it's dealing with the, what I mean. There's so many. Our brain is so. We only use 5% of our brain, so we don't even know what the other parts do. And I'm not saying that you didn't have a experience. I'm just saying, for me, when I did those things, it was just like, all right, well, okay. Well, it's like, growing up, I didn't see The Exorcist. I did not watch The Exorcist till I was 24 years old because I was terrified of that.
Wow.
Yeah, terrified. I was terrified of demonic things coming through TV and everything else I heard about it. And I finally watched it. I got done watching it, going, that was The Exorcist. All right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had been built up like
right.
Don't open.
Yeah.
Don't open that doorway and let those things in. And at 24, I wasn't really a Christian, but I still was not trying to, upset the balance. Like, well, if I died today, maybe I'd go to, you know what I mean? I was still playing both sides.
Right.
So I finally watched it with my roommate, my guitar player for my punk band, and I was like, I've never seen it. And he was like, what? How the hell did you never see this movie? All right. And so I was like, well, I grew up Christian, and I was always scared to watch it. And we watched it, and it was scary. Don't get me wrong. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. But at the end of the night, I was like, I went to sleep fine, and I never had Freddy Krueger when I was 5 scared me more than The Exorcist did.
Yeah.
So
I remember like my dad and my his parents would do the same thing. Like The Exorcist or any of those R-rated horror movies. A parent had to be there or whatever, and they buy our tickets and just score us in. And my dad's loop around, go to the bathroom, walk out the front door, like, hey boys, I'll be back. Like he was like, I got you in, you're good. Later.
Be back in 2 hours to pick you up.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
We sit there and yeah. So he both of our parents were cool like that. They let us run the neighborhood streets till late night, and they knew where we were. We'd come home every time, but they didn't worry about us getting in too serious of trouble. But
that's what I'm saying. Except for
as long as the cops didn't bring us home, we're good.
Yeah, my dad always said, "Don't get hurt. Don't
We're too fast. We always,
and you're fine."
Yeah.
But
exactly.
did Living Sacrifice? I'm gonna 2 more questions. I'm gonna let you get going.
Go ahead, man.
Did Living Sacrifice ever have a good send off with you in the band, or was there ever a reunion or anything to celebrate those 3 records specifically?
Well, it hadn't when they got, they broke up or disbanded in 2003, right before like the whole thing hit. Like every band blew up. It was on Solid State. All those bands, like I remember Bruce telling me that Demon Hunter guys were like, man, y'all quit right at the wrong time. Like y'all could have like, rode that wave, because y'all are the godfathers of this, kind of stuff. And y'all are the OGs, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And so, but Bruce started, he was on a Demon Hunter record, and then Ron was like, dude, get the band back together and come on tour. We'll have, so they did. And then after that, they started playing more. And ever since 2010, I've done shows with them. If I'm available or, can make it and everything, like we'll do like old school songs, off the first 3. Lance doesn't play anything off. We hadn't got him to play anything off an Habit yet because it's brutal. He's like, I'm too old, dude. It's like, I can't play that stuff anymore. But we do stuff off Non-Existent in the first album. As a matter of fact, I'm going to, there's a local event that's going on, which honors, every year they honor Arkansas musicians and different stuff like that. Of course, Johnny Cash and Glenn Campbell done in the past, but this year they're doing metal bands. And so they're doing us and us. And so I'm going to see Obstruction with this other band, or they're going to back me up singing Obstruction because Bruce and Lance can't make it. And so I want to do Obstruction, and Rocky's going to be there because he was in another band called Sick Shine. You ever heard of them? But they were just kind of a local band, and they actually got almost like a good deal. But anyway, they were popular here in Colorado, and so he's going to do a Sick Shine show.
That's cool, man.
So, but yeah, they're on us, and
I think at some point it'd be great to see, the original OG4 guys maybe do a special appearance at like a Furnace Fest or something where you do like just do the first record from beginning to end, or the second record,
you know what I mean? Well, we were going to actually do something like that right when COVID hit, and I can send you the poster. It was like big poster, and we had this Robinson Theater here in town, and it sold out like right away.
Nice.
We were blown away. Like all these people were coming from all over the place because we were going to play. I think we were going to play like first side of the first album, and then the first side of Non-Existent. We're going to do a bunch of old school stuff, for the first time. And COVID hit,
Yeah.
So and our friend who had been recording, videotaping us since we started, and he learned audio and video at the university. He has a degree in it, and so he has all the history of Living Sacrifice on So he made this great documentary, man, and it's really cool.
Where can I watch it at?
I'll text you. There's a 20-minute promo on YouTube for it,
Okay.
and but we didn't get to show it because that theater has like a drop down screen to show movies and a stage. So we were going to play and then show the movie. It was in the plane. We were going to open up for us. So Jim and Brian were going to be in town, and it was going to be great, man.
They should still put it out, man. Put it, make it.
Yeah. Well, what we ended up doing is because David Lipke, who put it all, was the director. He'd been working on it for like 6 years, and he had invested some money and stuff. And so this show was going to pay him back for all his free, labor that needed to be addressed, and he was doing it just because he's a friend, but still, we were going to cover his expenses with that. So we ended up putting it online, doing a Zoom, and there were a bunch of people. It actually made more money than selling out the theater.
Right.
The theater had like a 300-person cap. It's kind of minimum type thing.
Or even if put
but there was a lot more people on.
Even if you could put like an Amazon Prime or something where you don't have to have a physical copy, you can just rent it or something.
Right. The thing, we were wanting to release it, but the thing about it is, it's like the first 3 records, we own them outright, but everything Reborn on is a whole different, licensing issue. To be able to put it out.
Like the beginning years with the 3 records, and to be continued. And if that happens, it happens. If not, man, like I mean, like I said, I don't care about the other years. I care about the first 3 records. That's
right. Well, I'll get you a copy of it and you can check it out because it goes through like, it shows pictures of Lance and I when we were like 10 and 11 putting on Kiss makeup and, like doing stupid stuff like that. And then it's
not stupid. It's awesome.
Lance and Bruce and I in junior high and high school. It goes through, it builds up on, from our friendship and how we're still like, we've always been so tight, like after I was out of the band, everybody would come up like, are you still friends with them? I was like, yeah. They've been, everybody thought there was a big schism or whatever. It was just like, I was burnt out, dude, and I didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Well, I just remember I was going through my emails one day and I saw it, your notification, my notification, like DJ Sacrafice, subscribe to your channel. I was like, I know that name.
Yeah.
No, shit. I mean, I was happier than taking shit. I was like, oh man, the dude from Living Sacrafice follows my channel. I was like, woohoo!
Yeah, awesome, man.
So I mean, I was just like, the only band I haven't got to do anybody from that I want to do is Tourniquet. So Gary won't do it. Guy won't do it. Victor, don't know where the hell he is. Eric, which is funny because he's from Ventura. He's just never around. But like. I'm just, like I said, I'm just so thankful for you guys opening up your time and your mind. And even though that we do have a disagreement in theology, I mean,
sure,
still a great conversation. And I'm a fan, no matter what you believe, Yeah. Man, like your music is important and was important and is still important to me.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm humble. But man, it's like the same thing of like hanging out with Ray today, or Shelter, those guys. I mean, it was just copacetic, man. It didn't matter, they believed, I got into like reading about, about a Vegeta, and I mean, my dog's name's Shiva, and but there's a way for all of our news to be just fine together, man.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Right. I think conversations, especially like what we're having tonight, is very important, especially my crowd, the atheists, to be maybe not so much judgmental, but also definitely to the Christians, to maybe have maybe have a little bit more knowledge of what you believe and why you believe it, but also, not everything has to go your way, guys. Not everything has to be. Not everybody's gonna fall in line like you want. Nothing wrong with it. There's plenty of room at the table for the open conversation and the kindness and humanitarianism and of people that we can all just sit together. This last 2 years has been rough on the country. It's been rough. People fighting, taking this camp. Man, there's room at the table for everybody. Let's all sit. Let's just chill the fuck out. Let me be me. Let's all
I don't know what, I mean, it was almost like COVID set everything up for everyone to go batshit crazy, man.
Yes.
And it, a lot of people showed like their true colors, you know what I'm saying? But,
also, generation below us don't have consequences. What's that? I said, I think the generation below us also don't have the consequences of running your mouth in public. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
But if you talk shit.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, you better be able to back some things up if somebody got in your ass.
You hear the word on the street, you don't like it, you go find that person.
Yeah.
Have a conversation.
Like, what did you say about my mama? What?
Yeah.
What I mean? Like, I mean, it's just, so it just, and I think both sides play to the propaganda,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, I do. I try to stay out of it as much as I can and just, listen to my dog.
Live like Jesus and say, love love each other, man. That's all we do.
Yeah.
If you stop, stay away from me. That's it.
I'm drink some of this wine, mellow out.
Yeah, it's fucking do some African juice. Fucking smoke a joint and listen to some fucking reggae. Enjoy the day and enjoy the beautiful things. If we're not dead and not suffering in pain, man, it's a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good
day. I'll tell you a funny Roger story if you want one.
I would love to hear it.
Okay, so this is when Non-Existent had come out, or it was just about to come out. We just recorded it, and the guy Drew Posey, he had made our first tour shirt. He painted it out and everything, and he did it on the theme of anorexia spiritual, and it was like this shriveled up dude.
Okay.
But he had gone out to California. He was from Pennsylvania, but he'd gone out to California to go to art school or something, and I think it was art school. But he met Roger and started hanging out with Roger. And he's like in his dorm or wherever, and Roger's over there, and it's Thanksgiving Day. Right. And it's high noon in Little Rock. Right. So it's 10 or whatever there. But all my family, all my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, my nan, my papa, and mom and dad, we're all about to sit down and the phone rings. And my aunt answers. And, back then it was like, hey, this is true. I'm confident, long distance or whatever, like calls were expensive back then. And so she's like, hey, Darren, you got a call from California. You better take this, So I had a phone in my room. So I was like, I ran upstairs and I was like, who's calling? And it was Drew, the guy that did our art. He goes, hey, man, I'm sitting here with Roger. He wants to talk to you. And I was like, he wants to talk to me, And I was like, and they're all not eating because we were about to start eating.
Yeah.
Because I'm upstairs on the phone. They don't, they're waiting on me. And so Roger gets on there and just starts going off on me, dude, about because of the church and the kind of pastors we were associated with, and he just lets me have it, dude. And I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about that, man. Just kind of let him ramble for a while and that's another thing, dude. He talked differently back then. And this, I don't know if he lost it or if that wasn't I don't know what his real voice was. I don't know if it came out later or he's trying to tone it down when he got into reality or something. But anyway, he was just talking a mile a minute, and I was like, I knew if I could just throw him off, on a different direction, he would stop doing it. And I said something like, you know, man, I really like your vocals on the new album. Or she said something about, I love the production on the new album, dude. It sounds great. I hope our album mix is good. I just, and then all of a sudden, dude, he switched gear. He didn't say anything else about that. He just started talking about like what he was going to do on the next record, and he was going to have a industrial album out and remixes, and just started giving me all his. And he's like, "Yeah, I know." And then he's like, "Man, it's really been great talking with you, man. Here's Drew, man. I'll talk to you later." And just like, he was all happy at the end of it. But at the beginning, he was just like, "Hey, man, I want you to listen. You have a responsibility. And, you're leading kids wrong. And those kind of church, he's just like," I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" I expected it, like, "Hey, dude, we're going to come into town." And I just wanted to participate, I thought it was going to be friendly. And all of a sudden, he's coming through the phone. And my family's, and he didn't Thanksgiving. And I was like, I got off the phone. I was like, well, he seemed happier.
Yeah.
Went downstairs.
And that's the thing, I'll never know what Roger went through in his darkest times. Nobody will.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I don't mean to say that to disparage him.
No. I get it. But it's like, I witnessed that even years later, like people think like, I just got a hold of Roger and we clicked, man. Dude, I spent a year talking to that dude before he did my show. A year of calls, emails, and because he didn't know me. I proved myself to him, which I was fine with doing. And every time we had to
get in touch with him, how did you how'd you get in contact with him?
I had a friend who's a PI in LA, and I said, there used to be a message board. It was the Warpath board that this guy Stigmator put on, and this is back in the early 2000s. And Roger was like, the Realms of Blasphemy was finally supposed to come out, and they were doing a tour. Well, we were supposed to go up to St. Louis and open for him, and I was stoked. I was playing in one of my hardcore bands, the board, and that didn't fall through. Some other things fell through. The guy that ran the board died, and then and I'd been, he was on Facebook. He'd always change his Facebook thing like once a year, but he never did. So I had a friend. I had some information, and he found him and gave him my number. And I told him when he gave him my number, I'm like, tell him to call me. I don't want his number. He can call me and we'll talk. And he did, and we talked, and then I gave him my number, and he every now and then he would just call. He'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey," you know what I mean? So it was weird at first, but it was and a lot of emails. I mean, and the thing is, people don't realize, like, I disagreed with Roger a shit ton. We fought a ton, even though he was my boy. He was like, "I want you to do this, and I want you to find out these motherfuckers go to church, and we're going to do this." I'm like, I'm not doing that, dude.
Yeah.
I definitely think Roger, even before being pissed, I think Roger had either something manic or maybe bipolar. I'm not disparaging, because I mean, shit, next year or in a month it'll be a year since he passed away. And just he was just wired differently than most people. He was
and I mean, when I saw him when he the first one and second one and everything, I was like happy that he was, he's still, there, and doing, the fact that he was talking to you, that just, I was like, oh, cool, because
again, that took a long
he was so MIA for
a
long time.
It took a lot of work, a lot of trust. It took me being patient with him, and that's the thing. Like, I think he tested me one time because I was trying to help him figure out who owned what and to get his royalties, and I figured a bunch of stuff out, and he got a bunch of royalties back, and he sent me a check for like $300.
Wow.
Yeah, he's like, "Man, you worked for it," and I literally, I'm not lying, I ripped it up, I threw it in the trash, and I called Roger that night, and I was pissed at him. I'm like, "Dude, I told you I'm not doing this for your money. I don't give a fuck about it.
Wow.
Great living, man." I go, "I'm doing this because I'm your friend, and because I want to make sure that you are being treated correctly."
Right.
And he laughed at me. He's like,
good on you, man. Yeah.
Well, he laughed. He's like, "Yeah, we'll see what happens when that check clears," and hung up on me. And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't." And at that point, I didn't expect to talk to him again. I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
6 weeks, about a month to 6 weeks later, he called back. He goes, well, the check never cashed. I'm like, I told you, dude, I ripped it up. I'm like, I don't want your money.
Yeah.
And that's where the seeds of friendship, you know.
Right.
There was
Yeah.
a point too, I'd tell Roger, like, dude, I'm working, I have a family, I'm doing other stuff. I was running a wrestling promotion at the time too. I was like, he wanted me to like 24/7 work for him. And I go, I don't
Right.
want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I'm your friend. I will try and help you when I can.
Mhm.
Dude, I'm not your employee and I'm not your bitch, you know?
Yeah.
So you get
Yeah.
mad and you call me, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's cool, you know,
Yeah.
just know when you cross those lines, I'm gonna call you on
Right. As you should.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just sucks because, you know, just before he died, we didn't have an argument, just he was annoying me. And I just needed a couple of Roger free weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can imagine.
All the
Yeah.
free zone time.
Yeah.
Uh, and
I've had some friends that it's like, hey man, if I'll answer your text when I can. You don't have to keep texting me, or I was like, I'll get to you when I can. I can't right now. But yeah, it gets old after a while. You're just like,
to
hey,
the point where you're like, I don't want to answer you at all now. You pissed me off.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And so I texted him, hey man, you know, blah blah blah.
Did you see it coming? Like, did you like know that he was like that close to
No,
other
I
side?
talked to him, man. It was 10 feet forward, 2 feet back. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing physical therapy. I'm getting good, man. But also, when he was telling me how much drugs and alcohol he was doing a day, like honestly,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with it. And
Yeah.
you know, like I remember, like and I'm not saying this to be like, oh man, but like, you know, there was a point where like he was on full disability and his check didn't come in or something, and him and his girlfriend were broke, dude. So I
Yeah.
like $200 worth of like Omaha steaks and sent it to him. I'm like, hey man, have food.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would do that.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
and and so he was he which sucked because if he wouldn't have listened to this goddamn doctor about this back surgery, he would have been fine.
Yeah.
And I told him before, I'm like, man, I go, I wouldn't do it for you. I go, I have an aunt that's had to have 7 back surgeries over the last 10 years. They don't know
Worst thing you can do.
don't do it.
Yeah.
And he did it. And then
What was it for? Was it just
chronic pain, like he couldn't walk, just
yeah.
maybe all the years of just jumping around, you know how it is, how exerting that life is. And so, I mean, he did it, and then he had cancer, I guess, years before that. And then it came back in leukemia, and but
wow.
Here's the thing:
it just started going downhill.
Yeah.
Like,
but also, I know Roger's one hell of a showman. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things I was like, dude, I better not be punked on this, or like,
right.
I find this motherfucker's lying to me, dude. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. You know, like, and that's the thing is like, I had texted him and hadn't heard back, and finally one morning I was like, dude, are you okay? What is going on? And his girlfriend texted and was like, hey, I had to take him to hospice a week ago. He lost his voice, and then just within that week, he just
went long this time.
Which I will say, does kind of piss me off because I called Jimmy Brown first because me and Jimmy are good buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And he let a couple people.
I've met him.
What's that?
I've met him.
Yeah. Jimmy's Jimmy, but Jimmy was my first guest, and because of Jimmy, I got to talk to so many other people that wouldn't have voted before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I go to Vegas, once, twice a year, and we hang out.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jimmy's been great to me. I love that brother.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I got a story about him too, and this is like way before they got signed. It was like they were just Greetings from Death or whatever that demo is that they first put out. And I sent for information because I got their address out of Heaven's Metal, and it was like, probably number 18 or something. It was like back when it was still just a folded piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it said they were thrash. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a thrash band. So I wrote in for info, and he wrote me a page and a half in his handwriting letter back, like personal letter, and like listed everything out that they had, I still have, I keep everything. I archive
You got all that stuff.
Yeah. But so I ordered everything, and I think it came to like, $150, something like that. I mean, he had videotape, stickers, shirts,
Yeah.
and and he included his phone number. That's another thing. I would just call anybody, give me a phone number, I'm calling you.
Yeah.
And so I sent it off for it, and a year later, I was pretty upset I didn't get a darn thing, man. So I call that number, and I get his dad. His dad's like, "Oh, Jimmy isn't here right now. He'll be back at such and such time." And I was like, "All right." So I called him back at that time, and he answers, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you remember getting a $150 mail order from Little Rock, Arkansas? I'm the guy that sent that to you. Where's my money or stuff?"
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how I approached it, but he was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. We had band members change. I don't know if they got lost in shuffle or whatever." And he said, "I'm gonna make it up to you." And I was like, "Okay." And so he sent me. I don't know if they sent it out to many people, but it was like a new home movie VHS of the band, and with Marcus from it ended up in Betrayal.
Yeah.
And just them goofing around. I mean, I'm sure they were going to try to get it in production or something, but he sent me that. He sent me a bunch of stickers, all the shirts he had. He made up for it,
Nice.
but yeah, he was good on his word, and we opened up for him the last year I played Cornerstone. They played right after us.
Nice.
So he comes up, Lance, I was sitting there. We're walking up to the stage, and we got on the side stage, and we had just got done playing. And Lance and I are standing beside each other, and Jimmy comes up and goes, "Hey guys," and just grabs both of us and picks us up. It's like gives us a big pair of hugs.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So
you got a Roger story, you got a Jimmy story there.
Yeah. Yeah. Jimmy's fantastic, man. He's just,
Yeah.
like I said, man, because that dude, like he talked people that would have never spoke to me. And like I said, he was my first guest. But also,
Yeah.
I have a crazy, real quick story. And
yeah, go ahead.
He was about to die. So, but I met George Ochoa first. I didn't meet Jimmy until he did the show. I'd only seen him play.
Oh, okay.
When I was going to Sanctuary, Jimmy was never there. I met Roger, obviously, George Ochoa, Mark Solomon came by every now and then. Victor and Eric from Tourniquet were always there. But again, same kind of thing. Like, went to Sanctuary that Sunday, and George gave me a flyer for that show, and he wrote his number on it for me. And to you, like every now and then, I'd call him and be like, "What's up, dude?" And I'd tell him, And so we're living in Ventura. Then my dad loses his job, and we moved back to Colorado Springs. So we're back in Colorado Springs, and I'm still calling George about once a month, and we're talking. And this is right when Released Upon the Earth came out, and George joined the and he's like, "Hey man, we're gonna be playing Denver at the Gothic Theater on this day. Do you want to come?" I go, "Come." I go, "Hey man, how about I show up for the day and like, I'll move gear, I'll help you move stuff in, I'll sell merch, I'll do whatever you need me to do." And he's like, "Cool." He's like, "This time." So I get there that day like at 10 a.m. and they're trying to open a sanctuary in Denver at that time, and never came to fruition. But they show up around 10:30, and I end up working that show and loading everything in. And that was the very first concert I ever worked, and I was almost 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sets you on your path.
Oh yeah. I love doing security after that. I've worked with
That's awesome, man.
everybody from Wayne Newton to Cheap Trick to Alice Cooper to Slayer to Suicidal to Body Count.
Yeah.
Done tons, many bands.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Orange was the first homie I met. So
yeah, that's cool, man.
Out here I'm at 50. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The show 4 years ago, and he was my third or fourth guest. So, it took him a minute. It took a minute for him to remember. But they were playing. I live in Kansas City. They were playing Springfield, Missouri, which is about 2 hours away from here.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, so I went down to see him and hung out. Jim Chafin from Crucifieds was playing drums for him. And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, he plays for everybody.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
Deliverance for the first time at 14 and then at 49. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Wow. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yeah, but after he did the show, I go to Vegas and he lives there, and so I'd call him and we'd meet up and have drinks, and him and his wife and my wife became really good friends, and so
Nice, man.
Jimmy's a hell of a guy, hell of a guy.
Yeah, and I mean, when you were a kid, you would have never thought that something like that
Yeah.
could happen.
Well, and as a kid, I wouldn't, you know, at 16 when I was listening to your guys' third record, to be like, all right, man, when you're almost 50, you're going to talk to them about the records you love, but you're not a Christian
Yeah.
anymore. You're doing this. I would be like, you're crazy, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go because my computer's about to die, but thank you so much, my
Hey,
friend.
man, it's great talking with you.
It was all my pleasure.
Again, man, just hit me up, man.
I will. And to everybody
Available.
watching this, you know, subscribe, like. Hey, if the guy from Living Sacrifice is following me, so can you guys. Come on, let's get some numbers in there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I said it better myself.
Exactly. You know, so and where can we get all the new re-releases from that came out?
It's on like livingsacrifice.com. Like,
Okay.
Bruce has the merchandise store set up, and if those aren't available, they're also available on the Nordic Mission website, you know, because they're the ones that put out the vinyl and got the ball rolling on that and everything. And as a matter of fact, the first they're working on issuing a picture disc of the first album.
Oh, nice.
So we never had a picture disc. I love picture discs.
Same here. Same here.
You know?
I do too.
Yeah, we're going to do the first album that's in the works.
If I buy new music or old music, it's only on vinyl. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'll call back all the records I got rid of when I became a Christian.
I'm just at a place where I can afford them, so I can buy them.
Yeah. Man, some of the prices are crazy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I grew up poor, man. We, you know, a $3 cassette was expensive, other than a LP. So
yeah.
So Living Sacrifice. I'll check it out, and yeah, I'm gonna have to reorder some of the new re-releases, my friend.
Yeah, man. Well, let's stay in touch, man.
Oh, definitely will, man.
It.
I appreciate everything you did, my friend. Thank you.
All right, man.
All right, have a good night, my friend.
Hey, salud.
Hey, cheers.